How was one of the world's largest food companies burned by Pixar's A Bug's Life? Just ask the kids it marketed to. Gold medal flour may have been the foundation for what would become the General Mills Corporation in 1928. But fast forward almost a century, and General Mills was issuing not one, but 3 separate recalls on its all-purpose gold medal flour. In 2016, the company instituted a massive recall of a wide range of flour products in response to an E. coli outbreak. That outbreak spanned months, surfacing in December of 2015 and continuing through September of the following year. In total, 63 people living in 24 different states fell ill. By the end of July and following a couple of additional stages, total volume reached a whopping 45 million pounds of flour recalled by General Mills. 3 years later, in January 2019, the company was again encouraging consumers to toss its product after salmonella was discovered in a sample of its 5-pound bags of gold medal unbleached all-purpose flour. In September of that same year, another batch of the same 5-pound flour variety was determined to potentially carry E. coli. Although the bacteria can be killed by high temperatures, the risk that someone might consume a contaminated batch of raw flour necessitated these dual recalls. But in April 2023, General Mills was at it again with a nationwide voluntary recall of 4 varieties of all-purpose gold medal flour.
The recall includes 2, 5, and 10-pound bags of its gold medal unbleached and bleached all-purpose flour.
Those all added up to over 2 million pounds of recalled flour. The company stated the products were recalled because they potentially carried salmonella and warned consumers to avoid eating any products containing raw flour. Nevertheless, 14 people residing in 13 different states became ill with a strain of salmonella that the CDC determined had originated with bags of gold medal flour. While 3 of the people sickened by the outbreak were hospitalized, the death toll was 0. So, bright side? Progresso is a particularly noteworthy brand owned by the General Mills Corporation. In August 2020, the company announced a voluntary recall of 14-ounce cans of Progresso organic chicken noodle soup after it was discovered the label did not indicate the inclusion of soy and dairy. These are both relatively common allergens, so these sorts of recalls are intended to prevent someone from consuming soup and having an allergic reaction. In this Progresso recall, only 1 batch of the chicken noodle soup lacked proper labeling, adding up to about 3,000 cans that had been distributed nationwide. Customers were encouraged to dispose of any mislabeled cans, after which they were told to contact General Mills, presumably for some sort of refund. Cascadian Farm is a health-focused brand under the General Mills umbrella, producing exclusively organic food products. In October 2017, General Mills announced a recall of certain boxes of Cascadian Farm organic cinnamon raisin granola cereal for lacking text on the label declaring the presence of almonds, a common allergen. Boxes of this cereal with 2 specific best before dates were implicated, corresponding with 2 days of factory output. The volume recalled purportedly added up to more than 40,000 pounds of product in total. There were no public reports of illnesses resulting from undeclared almonds in the affected Cascadian Farm product, so the company presumably caught the error before anyone with a nut allergy inadvertently consumed the cereal. What may well be the single highest-profile undeclared allergen incident in the company's history involves its Cheerios brand. Ultimately, General Mills had to recall approximately 1.8 million boxes of Cheerios in October 2015. The offending Cheerios and Honey Nut Cheerios cereals were made with standard wheat flour, while the packaging highlighted oat flour and claimed to be gluten-free. Other variants of the cereal, including the likes of Apple Cinnamon Cheerios, were unaffected. A spokesperson for General Mills explained at the time that a factory mishap resulted in the erroneous use of wheat flour in what was supposed to be a gluten-free production line at a facility in Lodi, California. 4 days' worth of Cheerios and 13 days of Honey Nut Cheerios were produced before the error was corrected. General Mills claimed to have implemented a permanent solution in this incident's wake to prevent wheat flour from affecting future batches of Cheerios. Given the lack of Cheerios recalls since, the system appears to be working.
That's great!
In August 2015, General Mills tested a 10-ounce bag of Cascadian Farm cut green beans and found that it carried Listeria bacteria. As a result, the company recalled roughly 60,000 bags of green beans. But their green bean troubles were far from over. In October of that same year, practically the same thing happened. General Mills tested a 16-ounce bag of Cascadian Farm green beans and again discovered the presence of Listeria bacteria. The company recalled approximately the same quantity of 60,000 bags. The recalled batches were produced a year apart, so it's entirely possible that the two cases were unrelated to one another. Fortunately, there were no public reports of any illnesses originating from the green beans at the time of either recall. In October 2012, General Mills instituted a recall of Super Moist Golden Vanilla Cake Mix, manufactured by the Betty Crocker Company. This was akin to an undeclared allergen case, but rather than a lack of a proper allergen warning or the inclusion of an erroneous ingredient, the boxes of Betty Crocker cake mix in question simply failed to detail comprehensive lists of ingredients. Missing from their ingredients list were 4 kinds of food coloring: yellow 5, yellow 6, red 40, and blue 1. A total of 74,676 boxes ended up being recalled. While food coloring may not seem like a big deal, the inclusion of food dyes could be a difference maker for at least some customers. In fact, allergies to those coloring ingredients, while rare, are not unheard of.
The reactions are what we would call idiosyncratic. They affect certain people and not others.
In January 2009, the FDA determined that peanut butter produced by the Peanut Corporation of America carried salmonella, and 2 General Mills brands distributed products that were potentially tainted. These included peanut butter cookie-flavored Lara bars and peanut butter Bliss Crisp Jamfracus bars. Both products came packaged in various quantities, resulting in a recall of 15,000 cases in total of the 2 kinds of peanut butter bar, according to FDA data. Years later, in 2015, the CEO of the Peanut Corporation of America at that time landed a 28-year jail sentence for his culpability in the salmonella outbreak responsible for this General Mills recall. It wasn't the volume of the outbreak responsible for his criminal record, but the fact that he appeared to be fully cognizant of the fact his company was shipping out tainted peanut butter. In November 2007, General Mills recalled products packaged under 2 technically distinct brands due to the potential that an ingredient produced at a separate plant might carry bacteria. In this case, it was a pepperoni that may have been contaminated with E. coli on Totino's and Gino's frozen pizzas. A total of 5 million pizzas ended up implicated in this recall, all of which were made at a company facility in Wellston, Ohio. 9 out of 21 individuals exposed to E. coli bacteria around that time reported consuming either a Totino's or Gino's pepperoni pizza beforehand. Those illnesses spanned 10 separate states, with a majority in Tennessee. In 2004, General Mills recalled a line of Pop Secret microwavable popcorn packaged under a crispy glazed label over injuries to consumers. Specifically, multiple customers recounted receiving burns from the titular glaze component, as well as having difficulty preparing it. Enough customers complained that General Mills decided to recall 280,596 cases of popcorn in total. In October 2002, General Mills instituted a recall for a line of refried beans under the popular Old El Paso brand over the possibility that cans might contain Clostridium botulinum, which is the bacteria responsible for botulism. The total number of cans of refried beans covered by this recall was limited to a single batch of 4,080. That said, botulism can still become fatal, so the risk was serious all the same. Fortunately, no illnesses linked to contaminated Old El Paso beans were publicly reported. General Mills became aware of the issue after testing a can from the batch in question and determining that it was insufficiently heated during processing. The company had already corrected the issue responsible for that lack of heating by the time it issued the recall. All the way back in August 1999, General Mills instituted a rare recall for something altogether inedible, a flashlight promoting the Pixar movie A Bug's Life. Packaged with this flashlight were 5 lenses, each of which could project the shadow of a different character from the movie. As it turned out, those flashlights were prone to short-circuiting and becoming hot to the touch, posing a burn risk. This danger was, in all likelihood, especially pronounced given that the flashlight was a toy marketed to children. A majority of the flashlights were distributed via mail order, allowing the company to reach out to those customers directly. General Mills recalled 139,000 flashlights in total.